What's up? Welcome back. I'm John Stark from MyMovieGuy.com, your favorite blind film critic. And it's still spooky season, and I'm still doing reviews that are very scary. I'm just not doing the lights off thing. I don't think the metrics on those reviews are doing very good for me. Maybe just, I tried, but I can do spooky voices with the lights on. This is Sting, which is, it's a spider movie. So if you have arachnophobia, this is either the best or worst thing you can watch for Halloween, considering you should be watching things that scare you. So maybe this is the right choice. However, if you have uncontrollable arachnophobia to where you pee yourself, maybe not the right film for you. It does have audio description if you can find it. It's one of those like VOD things where like Hulu didn't carry it, but you're gonna have to pay for it, which is not really fun. I wish things would just transfer and follow. We got to work on that. But you can. I really like the audio description here. I thought the narrator did a good job. I thought all of the creature description was really well done. The horror description, the gore, everything like that was really well done. It's moderately gory for a horror film, but not like overtly gory. If you're thinking about, should my kid watch this with me, which for some reason everybody thinks about with films, it is rated R, but I would say probably you could dip a little bit below the 17. I wouldn't go too low. There's like a decapitation. There's sort of a chest burster thing here, entrails and stuff like that. People getting sort of eviscerated, and also animals. Now, I don't want to spoil I can't spoil the film because there are multiple animals. I'll just say there are multiple animals here. It doesn't necessarily mean all of them die. There is a website, I think it's like Does the Dog Die or something like that. Where you can, it's not just for dogs. It doesn't mean, yes, there's a dog in here, but that doesn't mean check it out and find out. But if you're really intrigued as to which animals survive or don't survive, there's a chihuahua, there's a cat, there's a parrot, there's a rat, there are rabbits. I don't think anybody cares about the cockroaches. At least I hope not. So, in the grand scheme of things, they're just cockroaches. But Sting has to eat. Sting needs to feed. And sometimes he does make interesting choices where you think maybe he will take the animal and then he takes a human instead. So it is what it is. Yeah, it kind of takes place in an apartment complex, so it has a little bit of that attack the block vibe to it, except it's not nearly as funny. This film is pretty straight horror. It actually is somewhat dramatic in that it deals with sort of complex family issues. Our leads are sort of this little like family. Charlotte's sort of like the main character. She's maybe like a 13-year-old girl, who is the one who sort of ends up finding Sting, who is an alien from another planet that has crash landed. And this tiny little spider, but we see it literally like crash through the roof into this one apartment, and then she ends up finding it and putting it in a jar. And it's just Sting is very smart and is able to get out of the jar in the middle of the night while she's sleeping, and then goes and kills something, and then comes back. And Sting keeps growing. It's really weird how that happens. It's like, Sting got larger in the middle of the night. Weird. So that's sort of what happens. There is sort of that like opening kill sequence thing, and then it jumps back in time. It's like 4 days earlier. But I would say that's also not the end of the film. So there's more after that point once you get to that point in the film. So don't let that necessarily define how you think the film is going either. It's more of a 2/3 of the way, I would say, through the film is where that scene takes place in the timeline. Multiple people live here. The girl has a stepdad who is also like the building superintendent and is taking care of the building as like his job. And it's kind of shitty and falling apart. But the owners is sort of like an old lady with dementia, and not much is going to happen with that, living in another apartment. And there's this drama because like the little girl's actual dad is not in their life, but he's really actually not that far away. And this guy's been around, and this guy's shown up, has been there the whole time. They have a new little baby brother, who, the way he's described, I think he's not baby. I think he's at least a year, maybe two, more like a toddler age, but definitely like a year, because he like reacts to things in a way that a baby just wouldn't even think about reacting to. They use his like reaction shots and stuff like that. I'm like a 3 month old is just not going to know what's going on. So, um, it's definitely of some substance. So, um, yeah, so there's that too. You're like, oh my God, does he eat the baby? I don't know. Does he? Watch the film and find out. Uh, it's a creature feature. It's originally like an Australian production, but it takes place in New York City, which is really odd. But I don't know why it doesn't take place in Australia. But I kind of thought, because I heard this was Australian, I was like, oh, it's an Australian horror movie. No one in here is Australian, which is it's like a surprise. Like, oh, well, yeah, okay, that's the decision. It's very contained because everything takes place inside of this little apartment building, and there are other neighbors and stuff like that too. So we don't necessarily get a ton of backstory. Probably one of my criticisms would be on Eric. I don't know enough about him, and then he becomes sort of like the expert on things, but then he kind of like feels more like a plot device. Like he's there when we need him, and then he goes away, and then we never need him again. And I'm like, she could have Googled like things. Do you know what I'm saying? Like she could have Amazon primed herself a cage. Like I don't I don't know that necessarily did we need Eric is the question. Like what purpose did Eric serve? That was maybe my biggest detractor is I don't know that Eric serves an actual purpose in this film, because it seems like they're starting to do something with him and then they don't. then the film just is like, well, this is about Killer Spider, so we're not going to go that direction. Um, Very interesting, very almost like Little Shop of Horrors, if I were to put it that way, to give any sort of context. But it's yeah, I like the film, and I really love the audio description. And there are parts where the Sting's about to kill something. Sting is the name of the spider, and like obviously kill's gonna happen. Whatever it is he's going after is about to die, and then it cuts away, and like there was one scene where he's about to kill something and cuts away, and then the narrator is like describing like what's about to happen, and then it just cuts to and he goes, ketchup and eggs. It's like breakfast the next morning. And I was like, so it'd be like if you were, and they open the door slowly, they peek into the room, and then birthday cake. You're like, oh, that's not where I thought that scene was going. It's because it's a cut, but I love the fact that it's obviously the splattering of the ketchup on the eggs is, the director's intent, which I think is creative and neat, but also I love how the audio, the narrator just sort of embraces that, the sort of silliness of that cut. There's another cut too, where they do the same thing, where they do a cutaway. Yeah, cute, funny, anyway. I like Sting. I think we've had some really strong horror movies this year, and Sting is one of them. And I'm also reviewing Eight-Legged Freaks for the same time. So the same day you watch this, you should also be able to watch the 20th anniversary of Eight-Legged Freaks, which is another spider movie. So I'm really giving you your arachnophobia for the day. Make sure to check that out. But yeah, I'm leaning pretty positive on Sting. It's not my favorite horror movie of the year. I think we've had some really interesting ones. Truly, just really intriguing stuff like Oddity. I saw the TV Glow, and I actually really enjoyed Abigail. So a couple more films that are a little bit above this, but I'm going to give Sting a B+. Definitely one of my more enjoyable watches this year. So comments, let me know what you think. Please like and subscribe, and I will see you guys on the other side.